I will answer them.
Carter was talking on the book with me yesterday. Yeah.
And 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. All right. I asked you 2 questions to start up class. First one was to give a summary. Instead of reading your whole summary, can I hear from a couple people? What is something that happened in yesterday's reading of Allegory? What's something that happened in that story? Any of them? Cold call, Chelsea. Tell me something that happened in yesterday's story. Any of them? Huge. One of the prisoners was freed. They've been chained up their whole lives. Now one is free. Someone else tell me, what happened when that prisoner got free? When they experienced freedom, were they happy? Were they pumped? Trayvon's shaking his head. No. Trayvon, why are you shaking your head?
Because it's too bright.
It's too bright, exactly. We're going to dig into that more later, but I'll just say that he had a lot of trouble adjusting to the outside. Trayvon's totally right. So this guy gets free, has trouble adjusting, eventually adjusts, and he goes back to the cave. Anyone remember what happened when he goes back to the cave with the other prisoners? One more time, Leanne. They didn't believe him. They didn't believe him. He told them about this whole world. They thought he was crazy. Great. And we're going to dig into that more later in class too. I'm glad we understood all that though. Now I'm going to quickly see if you got any questions on the pair deck, and I'll answer any questions you have. What happened in the ending? We're going to go over that explicitly in a little bit in class. Great question though, whoever asked that. When is the last day of reading the story? Today. My people that really wanted to get back to Monster, we are getting back to Monster very soon, so get excited. Is the chain on the prison off of them so they can escape? Great question. The other prisoners, the other 2 that are still there, no. The chain is still on. We'll talk about why. Why did the prisoner go with the other prisoners? To see if he's telling the truth. Ooh, we're going to discuss that a lot in class today too. But in general, they thought he was crazy. To them, the shadows were the whole world. So when he couldn't see the shadows, they thought he was either crazy or blind. All right. And to this student, I got you. Last day. Stick with me today. We're back to Monster tomorrow. That's a promise. Today's lesson 7. We're discussing the meaning and purpose of allegory. Kate, what would you do yesterday? Allegory. Great. I know I was out for this class, so any questions, I'll be answering them today. I'm going to be helping y'all out. Rashad, what are we doing today?
Alright. We are examining the deeper meaning of the allegory of the value of different mediums and conclusion to the beliefs.
Great. So yesterday we read the text. Y'all know literally what happened. Today we're looking at the deeper meaning. We're going to have discussions. We're going to see if we can connect this to your lives, to our lives, to the world.
Alright. I want to start the case with number 1.
We'll discuss it. You need 2 things today. So follow me up here. You need the reading and you need our concept map from last week. So I'm going to pull those up so you can see. Make sure you're pulling them up too on your computer. And Tal, I'm going to get you paper copies in a little bit. I got a second. Once you go to our class, I'll pull up the concept map first because that's a little farther back. Go to classwork. And then you just got to go down to last week, week 32. It says Monday, Telltale Heart concept map. And you're going to pull this up. just like this. Once I got that up, I'm going back to Google Classroom, and I'm pulling up Allegory reading. Then I'm clicking back to Paradigm. When you have both of those up, just give me a thumbs up so I know you're ready for me to move on. Got 1 student ready, 2 students ready, 3 students ready, 4 students, 5 students. 6 students, 7 students, 8 students. Alright, most of us are set, so I'm gonna move on. So on our vocab board, I've got a little term I want us to understand. Jamil, can you read this out just because you're right here?
She right there too. She's supposed
But she already talked today. I want to hear from you. You got it. Socratic method.
Idea that human can gain intelligence through discussion and conversation.
Boom. So this guy Socrates, who's a character in our reading, he believed the best way we can learn is by discussing things. I think something. Maya thinks something else. Andre thinks something different. Talent thinks something different. Taikira thinks something new. If we all talk, we're going to learn from each other. Today's going to be all about the Socratic method. We're going to look at a couple parts of the text. I'm going to give you time to write. I'm going to give you time to talk with a partner. Then we'll discuss the whole class, okay? So for this first one, I'm going to read out a section from Part 2, Freedom. Then I'm going to give you 4 minutes to write by yourself on these 2 discussion questions. And then I'm going to give you 4 minutes to talk with a partner about what you think. Then we'll discuss whole class, okay? Trayvon, could you repeat those directions back to me so I know we understood? What are we going to do?
You said you go read on part 2, and we go right now.
You got the first part. I'm going to reread a section of the text. Then what are y'all going to do? Boom. Answer the question by yourself. Then what are y'all going to do? Then you're going to talk with a partner, and then we will talk whole class. Good.
Together.
So this first part I'm going to read is from when the prisoner just got out. If you want to follow along, it is on page part 2, 3 stages of liberation, freedom, stage 1. I'm going to start reading that now. Even if you're not following along, make sure you're listening. Here we go. I'm right in the middle where it says, is questioned about the objects. Is questioned about the objects. Socrates, if all this were to happen to the prisoner, what do you think he would say if someone were to inform him that what he saw were mere trifles, and he's talking about the shadows, but that now he was much nearer to beings, and that, as a consequence of now being turned toward what is in being, he saw more correctly? The answer he gives. Yep, Rashad, keep going. The answer he gives.
Socrates, and someone were in someone were given to show him any of the things that were passing by, and forced him to answer the question about what it was. Do you think he would be a witch? In addition, we consider that what he previously saw with his own eyes was more amusing than it was now being shown to him by someone else.
Perfect.
Nothing.
Great. Now, quick fast forward. Everyone flip to freedom stage 2, the next page, where it says getting used to the light. We're just going to read this section too. Yep, we skipped a little bit. Just because we read it yesterday, but now we're making sure we understand. We're at getting used to the light now. I just went forward a little bit. Would anybody else like to read this part? Jayon, you got it. Getting used to the light.
So they were obviously some, identify shade in order to out of the riches of the house of
shadows and reflections, Socrates. And in this process of acclimatization, he would first and most easily be able to look at one, shadows, and after that, two, the images of people and the rest of things as they are reflected in water. Pause. Alright, so we just read two different parts. Now for 4 minutes by yourself, I want you writing down in Pear Deck what you think about first. What happened when this prisoner left the cave? That first part we read. If you're not sure about some of the words, go back and Google it. Then two, once the prisoner got accustomed to it, that part that Rashad I think read, what did he first look at when he was out of the cave? And why do you think that is? So 4 minutes by yourself, then I'm going to give you partners. You'll talk with a partner, then we'll come full class, alright? I'm going to start my timer now. Type in your answers in Pear Deck. Before you ask your question, when we talk to partners, you two are going to be talking to partners. Question?
I don't make my noodles like when people do a movie.
Yes, I give you some. And when we're talking to partners, you two are going to be talking together. When we talk to partners, I think there's a group of three because you just joined the class now because you were out at the start of the year. So 1, 2, 3, talking right here. When we talk to partners, Trayvon, you're going to turn around and talk with Todd. When we talk to partners, Brandon, you're going to turn around and talk with Andre. When we talk to partners, okay. Y'all ready to talk? Yeah, I'll switch that up. Y'all two going to be talking to partners? I'll put the other two in my class. I want to get to
Lily with the
and when we talk to partners, Leanne and JD, I'm going to be talking to partners.
Good dog. I'm going on the third block. In the middle of the listen. Trey wanted me to stay.
So we're going to be talking in 2 minutes. Just right now, we should be quietly answering these and rereading or looking up anything we don't know.
Rashad. I'm going to get 2 new dogs, bro. I'm going to get 2 new dogs. Cause my grandpa dog had purpose and my auntie dog had purpose.
What'd you say? You gotta get 2 dogs?
I'm converting him by you.
You did?
Hmm? The city pups. Pups.
You said it?
Huh? He only she only had 4. My grandpa.
All right, you just wrote by yourself for about 4 minutes. Now for these next 4, you can turn to that partner I said and see what they think. If I wasn't sure about one of these questions, I'm asking my partner about it. If I want their opinion, I'm asking them about it. Also over here on the board, I put up some talking stems. So if you're not sure how to phrase something to your partner, just look over here. And same thing we're discussing the whole class. I think something because something. I heard you say blank. I agree or disagree because blank, etc. So the rest of this time, you can talk with those partners, then we'll talk whole class. I'm going to be coming around, checking in with all the different groups.
He thought everything was not better, but he was getting used to the environment. That's what I think. He was getting used to the environment. He didn't really know that. I know he's surviving. Something like that.
Posse, what you think?
You can't do it by Florida.
The first thing you do is you look for shadows. You can see the shadow
Tree,
in that.
you got plus?
You see that, right?
You use it.
Because that makes sense. Okay, there's the
Huh?
world I know. So that's the first thing you saw.
He's
was
lame.
I didn't do it.
She was still with the Xbox.
Oh my Xbox.
Rashad. Rashad. Let me use your plus.
This is Dale Rashad.
Jumping in with this group, what do we think?
He'll get a free aircraft.
Oh, and we're in group right here. Trayvon, what you think?
It was hard for him to see in the light.
Say it one more time.
It was hard for him to see in the light.
Totally true. It was hard for him to see in the light. Taj, what do you think? It was hard for him to see in the light, and even once he could see a little, it was hard for him to get used to it. How many question 1? Now I want you thinking about 2, okay? Y'all got 1 good? Think about 2. Jumping in this group, what do you think? 1 or 2?
The glitch patch, bro. How many get an aircraft?
What you think?
Stick targets.
How many get an aircraft? That's it. I think that Nike Club on patch. Oh, you gotta try a few times. That was the first one to get patched. Go search up on YouTube. It got more.
Great answer. Love that for 1. Didn't like it at first. Took a while to adjust. For number 2, what do we think is the first thing you could look at once he was outside? Is that the first thing you could look at and understand? My tip is, and Talon, you don't have a text, so you don't have to do this, but people that do, it says in the text a 1 at what he looks at first, 2 what he looks at second. Brandon, what do you think? You alright?
Huh? We got 1 minute before we come back full class. And Carly, if you have any discussion points, I want you to type them in the chat,
Merge
okay?
glitch game day.
And I will say them out for you.
It came on April 20.